History, which often scare you. My dear class 10 students, here I am with the top 10 most repeated questions from history, as history is a high weightage topic which you sometimes neglect or feel bored of. Let's make it important and interesting by solving the top 10 most important and repeated questions today. Okay, so if I talk about history, two important chapters are Rise of Nationalism in Europe and then Rise of Nationalism in India. Both chapters include a high weightage because long answers come from this topic, along with print culture as well as making of global world. Just four, I won't say four, just 3.05 chapters we need to study. Let's start with the very first question of the day. What changes did Napoleon introduce to make administrative system more efficient in the territories ruled by him? So when I talk about this, we know that Napoleon, a liberal leader, came and challenged the conservative that I am going to rule the entire Europe. In that process, he just occupied so many territories. In that way, he wanted or he wished to make the administration more convenient and effective. I won't say that he established the democracy. Rather, yes, no doubt he destroyed the democracy. When he destroyed the democracy, but introduced certain administrative changes that are very, very important for us to study today. Come on. The first thing, it is also known as Civil Code of 1804 because it was passed in the year 1804. What he did, he basically abolished privileges on the basis of birth. No one will be upper, no one will be in the lower section, rather everyone is equal. That means established equality before law and gave right to property, which was taken by some leaders like nobles and clergies. Next important, because of this large territories occupied by him, he need to simplify the administrative division. Yes, administration needed to be sorted. In that administration, majorly the power was handed towards the feudal lords who contained the land and the power, prestige, money. So he did first thing, he abolished those feudal system, freed all the peasants from serfdom. One more thing, because he wanted economic liberty too, in the towns, guild restrictions were there. There were groups who restricted others to do trade in their sphere. So what he did, the guild restrictions were removed, weights and measures, common will be introduced, common currency, so that it can facilitate the movement of goods, capital and people. Done. 5 points you are going to write in your exam and ace your exam. Next one, pay attention. Why did nationalist tension emerge in Balkan region? And everyone is so scared seeing this topic. I don't know why. Every time you ask that, ma'am, how to write this answer? My dear students, listen. So, if we see that this is Europe, this region was known as Balkan region, which was ruled by Ottoman Empire. The serious tension in the 1870 emerged there. Why? Were there exams were going on? No. Rather, what happened, the Balkan region, this region if we see, it consisted of so many people who had different ethnicity, their culture, like if we talk about the Slavic, like they were referred as Slavs. These people were referred as Slavs. It consisted of Greece, okay, Armenia and many countries in the list. Okay, it was controlled by an empire, that is Ottoman Empire, which was conservative in nature. During the time 1870s came, in the Western Europe, there was rise of nationalism. Here it also came. Everyone wants a nation. So, due to spread of this nationalist feeling, these Slavic nations also want, okay, this is my territory. This is my territory. I want an independent rule over there. But in that, they were jealous of each other because everyone wanted more land, more territories, and they were fighting. But when we fight, our neighbors always take the benefit out of them, right? And similarly, the big rulers like Russia, Germany, England, Austro-Hungary were keen on countering the powers like, okay, let me help them so that I can gain the power for the rest of the life. This was what going on, and eventually it leads to so many wars and finally the First World War. Hope this is clear to everyone out here. Next question. If we talk about the role that language and popular culture play in forming culture's identity, so basically whenever I talk about the chapter Rise of Nationalism in Europe, I always say this is the most important topic, how culture played an important role in raising countries' or nations' identity. You know that, yes, language and popular tradition plays an important role in uniting the people, like sharing of ideas, literature, historical narratives, etc., etc. In that, more role was played by festivals, folklores, customs, and reinforce their bond. Now, you need to facilitate the answer with certain examples, like here we can talk about Poland. Okay, here we can talk about Poland. Poland and its Russian occupation. This can be written here in detail as an double C comes in occupation. Do not judge me for wrong spelling. The next one also you can write about Poland, where Karol Kurpinski, okay, Karol Kurpinski particularly took the benefit of language by popularizing what's music and dance. We can also write about Germany, Gottfried Herder. He also took the support of folklores among the common people, okay, Das Volk, which he represented. This is the answer to the third question. Moving to the fourth one, why did Indian social groups and organizations take part in civil disobedience movement, and who were they? This is quite important. Why did people participate in CDM? Was there anything in their mind? So they joined the movement to protest against the high taxes, first thing, oppressive landlord practices, as well as abolition of that land revenue system. Now what we can do in this type of question, you need to figure out, like this question is quite tricky, how to frame it. In this type of questions, we can figure out that we can classify them. Like if we talk about, there are certain Indian merchants, okay, as well as industrialists who took the participation, we can talk about them. Then we can talk about industrial workers, fine, industrial workers. Then we can talk about middle class people who were living in towns. Why did they participate? We can talk about landowners, large landowners, why they were participating. Or we can talk about farmers. We can write as a criteria about tribals, okay, or women. So when you will classify your answer in these subheadings, then it will look quite impressive as it is that is given in the book. Okay, so hope you guys are able to do that. How did non-cooperation movement affected the economy? Quite important question, comes multiple times, right? If we talk about non-cooperation movement, so non-cooperation movement formally started in December 1920 within, like what we can say, with an objective, with a plan, with a program that we will be boycotting all foreign goods. Foreign goods, it will be bonfire done, foreign liquor, women's will be protesting, picketing around them, many more, like all the boycott of institutions that belongs to Britishers, right? In that we are naturally affecting the economy. We are burning their clothes which were being sold in the market. We are stopping their liquor to be sold in the market. How will it affect the economy? Definitely, it was the target. So this boycott of British groups, textiles, led to substantial decline in their sales. Yes. Rather than that, we were promoting what? We were promoting indigenous industries. That was basically a symbol of self-reliance started by Gandhiji. Right? You can write about use of Swadeshi. You can write about decline in trading companies. Even you can write that. Even what you can write that their economy went from 102 crore to 51 crore. Okay, write that point, important. Next question is, how did First World War contributed to the expansion of India's national movement? My dear students, the chapter starts with this question, and if you are unable to do that now, then there is a problem. I hope my students are like easily able to write this. Come on, let's talk about this. So it created a new political and economic situation. Yes, how it created? There was increase in defense expenditure. If we talk about First World War, there were two groups. Okay, Allied powers, Central powers. In the Allied power, there was Britain, and Britain was ruling India. Now their expenses were increasing. From where they will drain the wealth? Obviously, India. They took us money. How? Increasing custom duties, introducing income tax, increasing so many taxes and so on. The first thing was done. During this period, 1913 to 1918, the prices of all the products were quite higher, right? The third is forced recruitment. They went to villages and asked the people, you need to forcefully be the part of the First World War as a soldier, right? And the last but not the least, when we say now there is fire, someone comes to put more fire in it, that is crop failure and famines, because they were not focusing on our agriculture production, etc. Okay, these points you need to write in this answer. Coming to 7th question of the day, very important from the chapter Making of the Global World. Come on. In the pre-modern age, how did Silk Roads? No. How did Silk Routes? Yeah, we can write roads also, but sometimes when you get confused, do remember it can be route or roads. Comment the word except. Like if I talk about Silk Route, what were they? Are they roads made up of silk? No. They were roads through which Chinese silk was transported to Europe. Okay? But it was not only Europe. Rather, Silk Route is a trade route connecting Asia, Europe and Northern Africa, because it was not one route. There were multiple routes connecting each other. Okay? What was the main work? Main work was trade exchanges, through which Chinese silk went to Europe along with that pottery. Spices and textile, particularly from Asia, went to Europe, and in return they paid us in gold and silver. But it was not just the trade exchanges, we had cultural exchanges too. Like if we talk about a classroom, right? You guys sit together, come from different culture, talk about the culture, because you are coming in one place. Similarly, for trade purpose, when people were coming from one place to another, they shared their food, they shared their culture, their tradition, etc. How? Let's talk about it. Buddhism, which was born in India, right, spread to the different nations like China, Japan, Korea via the same route. Okay, Islam came to India via the same route. Christianity came to India with the same route. There were diplomatic relations between kings and the empires, and the most important thing, you are able to eat pasta because of this silk route. So food exchanges like noodle from China went to that Europe part and become spaghetti. Pasta from Europe went to Sicily, and now it is a famous Italian food. We got potato, tomato, groundnut, etc. to Asia from Europe. And from where did Europe get it? From America. So these are the most important point we need to figure out in the question number 7. And here we are with the question number 8. The question says, some historians contend that print culture fostered the environment that led to French Revolution. Very important from the chapter Print Culture and Modern World, that because of print, how French Revolution occurred, how it fostered French Revolution particularly. Good answer. Comes frequently in exams. How we need to explain it? Whenever we talk about this, write the first point that it led to the ideas, spreading of ideas by the enlightened thinkers, like we studied in class 9th also. Right? There were certain principles of democracy, rights that were presented by Voltaire, Rousseau, and many enlightened thinkers which reached to the common public, and they gained that knowledge of democracy and many more. Okay? Write that point. There was role of newspapers and pamphlets when these ideas were printed in newspapers, pamphlets particularly, it reached to the common public. There were debates and discussions, and at last they were mocking the monarchical, the work of monarchical. They were debating over it, discussing over it, questioning them. This is why French Revolution occurred, because print culture enlightened the people. That is the reason they raised their voice against the monarchy, which were they not able to do for a longer period of time. Get it? Question number 9th. Describe how Indian printing press influenced the discourse around social and religious reform movements in India. My dear students, like print culture had an important role in changing the society and religion of India, bringing reforms that were needed. And the people who were reformers used it in a positive way. If we talk about, there were certain ideas from the leaders like Raja Ram Mohan Roy. We remember him as a social reformer, religious reformer. Mahatma Gandhi, focusing on the issues, like there were issues like no widow remarriage was allowed, there were caste systems so strict, there was sati system going on, discrimination going on, no right for education for women. So the leaders raised their voice and took the background of pamphlets, newspapers as such. The second point is print media. Yes, exactly, we were talking about. They presented these ideas. It provided a platform to critique outdated customs. Question was done, right? Like here, the question regarding the widow remarriage and challenging societal norms were asked, so on. By making education text accessible, the printing press educated people. You can here also give the examples that are given in the book. Okay, this is how you will be writing the 9th question of the day. And the last but not the least, describe the Vernacular Press Act. See, whenever print was going on, there was one more topic, that was censorship. Do you think that Britishers will allow you to say and write everything? No, they stopped you. That word is known as censorship. In that censorship, one important act is Vernacular Press Act. What is vernacular? Regional language. Okay, so when with the help of press, printing press, regional newspaper pamphlets were printed so that they can educate the people in their regional languages, this scared Britishers, and they passed the Censorship Act, which says that it was controversial though, passed in the year 1878, which says that this is a new law introduced by Britishers in India to control Indian languages newspaper to print anything that is critical out of Britishers, for Britishers. If you are speaking anything against Britishers, you are not allowed to do that, because then your printing press will be seized. This is the act says. It gives the right to the government to seize the printing press. So the law required newspaper in Indian language to deposit a security. This was a very smart law by them. They said that first, if you are opening a printing press, deposit a security. Okay, once you print anything against the Britishers, we will take your security first. We'll give you a chance. And if again you did the same, that we are going to seize or fortified, like forfeited, sorry, not fortified, forfeit your printing press, like seize. Okay, so this was basically what they did not want anything to be returned against them or anything that is seditious against them. Getting my point? So basically, to stop any statement against them, this vernacular press was asked. This was critical, not like welcomed by the Indian people. Some underground radio started to get protection from that, and many underground societies propagated ideas with the help of underground newspapers, hidden newspapers, and so on. So this was all about today's, what we can say, 10 important questions, repeated questions that comes from history. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you are going to practice it by today. Okay, we'll meet in the next video. For up till then, do one thing, subscribe the YouTube channel Diksha Vedantu, so that you can study with your SST faculty Tanvi Pahuja for always. Bye-bye.